Okay, what we're going to do is continue with chapter 1. Now, remember, Friday, we started chapter 1. And then Monday, you saw the film. Tuesday, we wrote the letters to the veterans. So now we're going to continue. If you are absent Friday, then you need to borrow somebody's notebook and get those notes, okay? So we'll review since we've been gone for a couple of days and so forth. We're going to review a little bit so we can pick up where we ended up. All right, chapter 1. We now know that after the 2 summary chapters that we covered, we have a place to start this class. And it is 1865, and the war is over. The Civil War is over, okay? All right, this chapter is the first chapter in this class, and it's called the Gilded Age. So I need somebody here to tell me, what does gilded mean? I can't hear 5 people talking at the same time. All right, gilded means something that looks good on the outside but has problems on the inside. Now, I gave you an example of an apple. Go in and get an apple, it looks good, you bite it and it's all brown on the inside, right? That's gilded. But we're not talking about apples. We're talking about the United States, 1865. We're a great country. We're a young country, 89 years young. We've got a democracy, rights, and everything, but we also have a lot of problems that we have to deal with, okay? So that's gilded. Then we said the other part of the title is reconstruction, to rebuild. What are some of the things that are facing us after the Civil War that we have to do?
We have to rebuild the South.
Okay, one is we got to rebuild the South because the South was burnt to the ground, right? 2, we got to put this country back together, and the South is still angry and mad, so that's going to be hard. 3, we got to settle the West. We have all the West now, manifest destiny, but we got to settle it. We need people out there, towns, farms, factories. We don't have that, so we're going to have to settle the West. And things in the country are also going to have to get better, get bigger, and grow. Our industry, our agriculture, we got to grow. If we're going to compete with the rest of the world, and we want to become a world power, we got to grow. We're only 89 years young, okay? So what we talked about yesterday is this. When this country started in 1776, how many states did we have?
13.
We only had 13. They were originally 13 colonies, became the 13 states. Now 89 years has gone by, okay? So if 89 years has gone by, now how many states do we have, more or less?
20, 30.
How many?
30.
About 20, 30 states, right? Something like that. Have we grown?
Yes.
Have we gotten bigger?
Yes.
But not big enough, okay? So Friday we were talking about our industry, that our industry's got to get bigger. And we found out that the only way it's going to get bigger if we have inventions, right? And we have to learn to mass produce, mass production. What does that mean? What does mass produce mean? It's your first vocabulary word. Yeah, we got to learn how to make a lot of goods for everybody, for all the people. And we really don't know how to do that yet, but we're starting. So we got to learn to do mass production. So we talked about an industry in our factories. What are the 2 big inventions?
The sewing machine and
sewing machine and pure steel. Sewing machine, we're now creating factories, clothing factories. Steel now, pure steel, we're beginning to build railroads, big buildings, bridges, the whole 9 yards. So you're beginning to see us grow, but it's slow, okay? Now the thing that we're going to talk about today is going to be our agriculture. Our industry's growing, but so does our agriculture. Our country's getting bigger, okay? Now before we get into this, I wrote this up to remind you guys. Your maps are due tomorrow. Totally finished and completed. When you come to class, I may give you about 10 minutes to look over your map, all the borders of the U.S., and then I'm going to give you the test. I'm going to collect your maps, and we'll give you the test. That's 2 grades that you're going to have, okay? All right. So improving agriculture. We're going to have to produce more crops, and we're going to have to produce them faster. And just like industry, agriculture came in and said, the way we're going to do it is new invention. So let me give you this. In 1776, when we started this country, let me ask you this. You all live in a rural area, right? You have a lot of farming around here. You've seen farms, and they're raising all kinds of crops. Before they plant the seeds, is the land flat?
Yeah. No.
What's it look like?
Ropes.
Is it like this?
Yeah.
So you're telling me that your land, the farmer's land looks like this, right?
Yes.
Have you ever tried to run across that?
No.
It's hard, right? So in 1776, how did they do this? God? God came down and went like this and created this thing?
They had to
The what?
this pointy tool.
A hoe?
Yes.
They got a hoe, which is square like this on the end of the stick. And by using manpower, they came in and they started pushing the sand to the side to make it look like that. Okay, that takes too long. And then he's got to go back and drop the seeds. And then when your crops grow, you got to cut it. But how do you cut it? By hand with a sickle, a blade that looks like a question mark. And you got to go by hand and cut it. All that takes too long. It's too hard. We need what?
Invention.
So now we get some inventions, okay? So here's the first one we're going to discuss today. The first invention that comes in is going to be an invention that is called the reaper, okay? And the one that invents this is a gentleman by the name of Cyrus McCormick, okay? Now you're not going to be responsible for his name, but you'll have it in your notes for the future, okay? Cyrus McCormick. Now in your heads, you ought to understand, you should be asking me what? What is a reaper? What does it do? And what does it look like? So let me ask you this. Where you guys live, do you have a yard?
Yes.
You have grass?
Yes.
You cut it?
Yes.
What do you cut it with?
A lawnmower.
What kind of lawnmower?
Just here. It's just kind of.
What, powered by what?
Gas.
By gas. So you have a gas lawnmower that and it goes, right? Or you have an electric lawnmower that you plug in and it goes on electricity, right? Well, when I was growing up a few years ago, we didn't have that.
Oh, the
That's right. We had a lawnmower that you grabbed and you pushed it and blades turned and you cut the grass. So it kind of looks like this. It has a little wheel here, it has a little wheel here, and in between it has what? Steel blades. It has a piece of wood here, a piece of wood here, and then it goes up here, and then there's a handle up there. Now how do you work it?
You just push it.
You grab the handle, you push it, the wheels turn and the blades turn, and it cuts what? The grass. Anybody knows what a lawnmower is? Okay, now, what is a reaper? It is a big mother lawnmower. It looks almost exactly like this, but the wheels are about as big as that door, or bigger. And the other wheel is on the other side. And connecting the wheels are steel blades, and it's about that big. And they have steel blades going in and out. Then on the top is a little wooden seat that you sit on. And then you have straps because you have 50, 60 horses pulling it. It's that big. And when you hit those horses, if the horses start moving, the wheels start turning, the blades start turning, and it starts cutting your crops. You don't have to cut it by hand anymore. The machine does it for you. That's a reaper. So in reality, a reaper has these tires that are about 10, 15 feet high. It has another big old tire on the other side. In between is connected the big steel blades like this. It has a piece of wood that comes up here. There's a little seat here, and there's another piece of wood connected here. Here's where the farmer sits. He's got straps that he holds, and then he's got 50 to 60 horses to pull it. When he hits those horses and they move, the wheels turn, the blades turn, he cuts the corn, the wheat, and everything that he grows. Is that faster than the simple?
Yeah.
But let me ask you this, once you cut the grain, you still have to go and what?
Pick it up.
Pick it up. So might we later get an invention that will pick it up for us?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a reaper. Now, in this class, I always want you to be able to see what we talk about, because some people don't understand things. You have to actually see it and so forth. So I have these old books that I use to show you and so forth. And in here, and I'll pass these around Friday so you can see them close up. But on here, if you look at this, these are reapers. There's actual pictures of reapers out here with all the horses and the men sitting on top of them. But what they would do is get like 10 of them and put them side by, and they go all the way across the farm cutting the wheat or the corn or whatever they're cutting. So this is a reaper, and I'll show it to you close up. I'll let you look at it a little bit closer later. So now we got a reaper, and things are going good for the United States. And then we get a second invention, and this one is called a steel plow. Y'all know what a plow is? All right. The plow comes down like this, and then it has a blade kind of like this. It looks like this, and then it comes up like this. What you do is you stick this blade into the ground. The farmer stands here holding on to the handle. He's got straps here, and he may have 2 or 4 horses attached. What he does with the plow is he smacks the horses, he holds on to that plow, he digs this blade into the ground, and then it starts carving up the ground to look like this. So he doesn't have to do what? The hoe anymore. He now has used animal power, pulling this plow. It goes into the ground, and it pushes this dirt to the side. Now here's the thing I want you to understand. The plow is not a new invention. We have had a plow since before Jesus Christ was born. The Egyptians had plows. People before them had plows. The only problem is the plows were made out of wood. So you tell me, when you get your plow and it's made out of wood, and you stick it in the ground and you hit the horse and he starts digging up the ground, what might happen? How?
It's going to get too heavy.
Okay, it might break. What else might you hit?
Rock.
You might hit a rock, and what's going to happen to the wood? It's going to splinter and break. What happens if it's in the water for a long time? It's wood. It's going to get soft. It's going to fall apart. So there was a man that came out during this period of time and said, you know what? Let's get rid of the wood plow and create a pure steel plow. Now, will steel carve up the ground faster?
Yeah.
And when you hit a rock? Nothing. And if it's in water? Nothing. Can anybody tell me who invented the steel plow?
Someone plow.
Who?
I don't know.
Let me ask you this. If you guys go to a farm today,
Oh,
and you look at the tractor, the trucks, all the farm
John Deere.
John Deere. John Deere.
Yeah, me too.
Now, John Deere invented the steel plow, and he's going to invent more things than that. And even today, his company is still making farm machinery, modern machinery. Of course, he's dead for many, many years, but there's the steel plow. So, what I want you to understand is this. With the reaper and the steel plow, are we producing more crops?
Yes.
And are we doing it faster?
Yes.
Okay, but it's just the beginning, okay? So if I gave you 3 questions today on the test, here it would be. Give me the definition of gilded.
Something that looks nice on the outside.
Okay, something looks good on the outside but has problems on the
Inside.
Okay. Give me 2 inventions in the early 1800s that improved our industry.
The sewing machine and pure steel.
Say it again. The sewing machine and pure steel. Give me 2 inventions that helped our agriculture to grow. The reaper and the steel plow. Okay, good. All right, now, let's go on with this. The U.S. farmers have always done a great job, always in our history. We owe them a lot. They are so good that they can feed, number one, all of the United States. They can feed all of the U.S., no problem. But they're so good that they can also feed 1/2 of the continent of Europe. All the countries in Europe, we can also feed half of them. So do our farmers have any trouble producing food?
No.
Never. Never in U.S. history have we had that problem. Now let me ask you guys this. Give me a short list of crops that you think we were growing in those days.
Cotton.
Okay, one is cotton, because we learned that from the South, right? And cotton was huge. Give me another one.
Corn.
Corn. Corn's going to be big in the future. Corn is huge. What else?
Potatoes.
Loud. What?
Potatoes.
Yeah, we'll grow potatoes.
Chile, no.
What?
Chile.
Pepper.
Nah, chili pepper. That's today.
Wheat.
What else?
Wheat.
Wheat's huge. Wheat will be huge. Also, tobacco. Tobacco is going to be big, especially in the South. We're also going to get into different types of grains, oats, barley. These are things that we make beer out of and so forth. These are the kind of crops that we're going to start growing. And we will grow other things too that you were mentioning, okay? But we have, in the United States, before the Civil War, we have what we called an old king crop. And this crop brought us the most money. And we grew more of it than anything else. What do you think the king crop was before the Civil War?
Cotton.
Cotton. Good. Cotton was the main crop that we grew. But after the Civil War, it changes. And we now are going to have a new king crop. Anybody guess and tell me what it is? And it still is today.
Tobacco.
Not tobacco.
Oh.
Corn's close, but it's not corn. What else? The number one crop that we grow in this
Potatoes.
country.
Potatoes.
Tomato.
Pumpkin.
I know.
Wheat. Many of you, one day you get a chance, if you drive through this area called the Great Plains, there is wheat as far as your eyes can see. We grow more wheat than any country in the world. And we sell it, we use it here in our country. Wheat today is the king crop. Now, here's one thing I want you to understand. I'm going to put a star by it because you're going to need to know this for the rest of the year. Our farmers, who've always done a great job in this country, have always had one major problem. And they still have it today. In the past, they had these problems, and today in the present, they have this problem. What's that problem? They produce too much. They produce too much food. Now somebody in the other class said, well, Mr. Reyna, that doesn't make sense. If you go out and you produce a lot of food, then you should make a lot of money. True, if you have everybody that wants to buy your crops. But if you produce more than the people need, then you got a whole bunch left. And what happens to your prices when you have too much of something and nobody wants to buy it? Prices begin to go down. Prices begin to go down, and then the farmer begins to make less money, and then eventually he loses his farm. This problem still goes on today.
Do we, why don't they sell to other places?
We do.
And there's still a lot?
We still have too much.
All right then.
So look, now that you're thinking like that, let me ask you another question. If you guys look at this timeline of the United States, when do you think the United States government, or let me ask you this, when do you think in all these years of our history that the farmers were told to produce as much as they want, and the government said